What's good, y'all? It's Wealthy XP here, and today's video is going to be simple. It's just about Awoken skills and super attacks and some of the changes that I want to see in Xenoverse 3, okay? So the first change that we need to see to Awoken skills and super attacks is we need to see the Awoken skill removed and put it as just a button. Okay, so instead of it being a dedicated slot, right now the Awoken skill, how it works in Xenoverse 2 is it's basically a slot, and it takes up space where you could actually have other slots for a lot of other things that I'm going to be talking about later in this video, okay? So the first most important thing here is to make the Awoken skill a button, okay? You can still keep Awoken skills, right? Don't remove the actual Awoken skills, obviously, but make it a button instead of a slot. So there should be something dedicated. Maybe I press, I don't know what it would be. Okay? I'm not a game developer. They need to figure it out based off whatever the keypads are going to be. But there should be a dedicated button. Maybe you press R3 2 times or something, or maybe you hold down R3 for I don't know, you know what I mean, something to, instead of it being a slot that will be wasted, instead of that it could just be a button. Okay, so yeah, the Awoken skill needs to be a button. And another thing is for the super attacks, right? And this is actually similar to Sparking Zero. They need to use the D-pads for extra super attack slots, okay? Similar to how Sparking Zero did it. They actually use some directional inputs with the D-pads instead of just using A, B, and triangle X. You know what I mean? Or whatever the symbols are. Instead of just using the symbols, they actually used directional inputs on the D-pad. So every single D-pad direction should be a button for a specific super attack or an ultimate attack, okay? And because there's 8 directions in total with the D-pad and the buttons combined, okay? So there's 4 buttons and 4 directions for the D-pad, okay? So there's 8 in total, right? Which would give you 6 unique super attacks and 2 ultimate moves, all right? This would give players far more options to customize their movesets, okay? And like that, obviously that would be way more dynamic for the gameplay because we could do so much more with our character. We don't just have to have the same 4 moves all the time, or we don't have to have these limited combinations. We could make way crazier builds if we had 6 super attacks and 2 ultimate moves, right? We can make way crazier builds. So obviously we want that. We want more customization, right? We want that, okay? So another thing that I think should change is I think certain Awoken skills should change your ki blasts, okay? So for example, like God of Destruction Topo, when he goes into that God of Destruction mode, which is a transformation in the case of Topo, right? Now, there could be a God of Destruction race as well. That would be different, right? That would be like the Beerus race. That would be different than what Topo did. Topo transformed into it. Vegeta transformed into it. Those are transformations. Those are different than being born a God of Destruction. So it should work differently from how you transform into it than if you're just born as a God of Destruction. Okay, obviously those 2 things would be different. So I don't want people to confuse those 2 things at what I'm saying here. Okay, I'm talking about the God of Destruction transformation that Topo did during the Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power. Okay, and what I think that should work like is basically your super attacks and your ultimate attacks would stay the same. Those would stay the same because obviously we don't want a transformation to force you to have new super attacks and new ultimate moves, right? But it would change your ki blasts. Okay, so we see that Topo, he actually gets these Hakai orbs that we see him use when he turns into the God of Destruction, right? And basically what you would do is you would have the regular Hakai orb, right, which would do a lot of damage, and then you would have the super Hakai orb, which would be like basically the charged up version of it, right? And that would do a ton of damage, right? But the charged up version, both versions will be extremely slow, but the charged up version will be extremely slow. You know what I mean? It would be so slow that it's almost not even valuable, but it would do so much damage that you can't ignore it because it's still lethal, right? But it's so slow. And I say that because in the anime, it's actually extremely slow. Like the move that Topo uses when he does those Hakai orbs, it's extremely slow. It is so slow. In this scene where he does it to Frieza, Frieza's literally just sitting there talking. He's talking for like 30 seconds about how he's just bragging about how it's not going to do any damage to him. He is like, yeah, I've tanked this attack before. yo, this shit ain't gonna affect me at all, dog. Like, you know what I mean? I'm really about to shrug this off my shoulder for real. You feel me? He was like, yeah, I'm really about to tank this. You feel me? It's gonna be easy. You know, he's bragging there for like 30 seconds until the move actually comes near him and comes in contact with him. That means that's one of the slowest moves of all time, in all of Dragon Ball. That is one of the slowest moves ever in Dragon Ball, okay? That Hakai Orb. But it's a lethal move. Obviously, it's an eraser move, right? So these are the gives and takes that would have from it. And it's funny because they actually balanced it in the show. Like, even when it's like, we can see multiple times when he shoots it that it's extremely slow. So it's actually like that in the anime. Also, the move would have no tracking, okay? So it would be extremely slow and it would have no tracking. Because in the anime, it has no tracking. The Hakai Orb that Toppo, the one that Toppo uses, okay? Not saying every Hakai Orb has no tracking. I'm not saying every single Hakai Orb has no tracking, okay? Hear me. Don't mix up my words, okay? I hate when people do that. When I'm saying one thing and people will mix it up for another thing. Don't do that, okay? I'm saying that Toppo's Hakai Orb does not have any tracking. It has never been demonstrated to track, okay? It shoots and it goes straight. It goes straight towards the enemy, and if they dodge it, they're not gonna get hit by it. Usually they just stand there for some reason. But yeah, it goes straight towards the enemy and it has never shown the capability to track. Toppo's version has never shown that capability. So it will have no tracking. It will be extremely slow and it would do a massive amount of damage if it did hit you though, okay? And basically that would make it more of a unique form. So you still keep all your super attacks and everything else, but in this instance, it changes your Ki Blast. And I think that should be true for other certain Awoken moves too, Awoken skills, right? So we would see like unique changes that don't affect the entire gameplay, but they make you think about certain things, or it's like, oh wait, this is valuable. You know what I mean? It's valuable in its own way or whatever. So change up the dynamics a little bit. I think that would be cool. Now, maybe I didn't describe the balance of it absolutely perfectly, right? Like, I'm not a game developer. I might not have described the balance of it perfectly, but I tried my best, okay? I think that would be pretty decent, right? Another thing that I would like to see is remove limit bursts. Remove super armor limit burst specifically. I don't really have a problem with the other ones. Remove super armor limit bursts and Ki Blast cancels, okay? These are crutch mechanics that people rely on too heavily, and they make the gameplay stale by being the only valuable option for approaching in every single scenario, which means you're just doing the exact same thing every single time. You're constantly doing the exact same thing every time you approach, okay? Every approach is always the exact same every single time. Okay? Nobody wants to see people do the exact same thing every single time they approach. You're doing the same thing every time. That's boring. That's boring gameplay. Okay? Nobody wants to do the exact same thing every single time they approach. The exact same thing is always the most valuable. That is boring garbage gameplay. That is boring. That is trash gameplay. That's boring. Okay? If you have to do the same thing every time because that's the most valuable thing every time, that's trash gameplay. That is a boring approach. That is a boring mechanic. Okay, it ruins the gameplay by making it more boring. Okay, it's just boring. You're doing the same thing every time you approach. Every time you approach, you're gonna do a Ki Blast cancel. That's boring. That is boring. That is boring, okay? It's stale. You're doing this, by definition, you're doing the same thing every time. By definition, it is stale and old, and there's nothing new about it because you're doing the same thing every time. It's not dynamic. So it's trash gameplay, okay? There's no debate about that. When you're doing the same thing every time, that's trash gameplay because it's boring and it's not fun. And the whole game, all games are about being fun. Okay, it's not fun to do the exact same thing every single time. So I don't want to hear anyone argue me about this. All right, this is a fact, not an opinion. It's boring to do the same thing every time. Yes, that's a fact, bro. That's a fact. Don't argue me on a fact. Okay, I have to drill that in some people's heads because they have too much of a goddamn thick skull to understand blatant reality and undeniable truths. Okay, so yeah, those would be the main things that would make the thing better. And I don't want to go too in depth on that because I made a video about it and I explained it in my Rhyme Style Defends Broken Ki Cancels video. So I actually made a whole video about that, explaining it a lot more in depth than I did here because yeah, that is something that needs to be addressed. So I'm not gonna go too in depth on that here, but yeah, if they do those things right, I think Xenoverse will be really good, man. Xenoverse 3, I think it'll be great. If they do the right things that I'm saying, you know what I mean? If Bandai listens to exactly every single word that I'm saying here, I think the game will be great. I really do, man. You know, I'm telling you all the exact right things to do. It's a fact, okay? So yeah, just do what I'm telling you to do. Do what the fans are telling you to do. Don't do what you want to do, Bandai. Don't do what you want to do. No, don't do what you want to do. We're paying you. I'm paying you. I'm not paying you to do what you want to do in the game. I'm paying you to make a game that I want to play. Okay? I ain't paying you to make what you want to do in the game. No. Okay? I'm paying you to make the game that I want to play. So do what I'm telling you in this video, man. All right? But yeah, you guys, let me know what you guys think about the video. If you enjoyed the video and you agree with me, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you disagree, let me know your thoughts as well. Link to the Discord will be linked in the pinned comment, okay? We're building a community there. We got people already in there talking every day about Xenoverse 3. I want to hear your guys' opinions, all right? We talk about anything in the Discord, okay? It doesn't have to be just Xenoverse 3, but I want to see you guys there, all right? It's Wealthy XP here. Tuning out. Be easy, y'all.